Okay, here's a scenario. You've just finished your scene and you're looking for an HDRI image to light your scene. But in either case, you either can't find a good one, you don't want to pay for an HDRI, or you're potentially concerned about copyright issues. So you decided that you're going to forge out and make your own. My name's Jay with Cevohcam Studios, and I'm going to show you how. Let's get started. For this demo, here is a small little temple of Cezanne that I marked up, with lights coming from these emissive light squares in these pillars. Now, as you can see, I also have a world shader as well to add additional lighting to the scene. So let's go and render all of this into an HDRI. I'm going to disable anything that I don't want captured in my HDRI, which would be the Cezanne head. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is select a camera that you can move around in your scene, and go to the object data properties and change the type from perspective to panoramic and the panorama type to equirectangular. Now, if you do not see this as an option, you're probably using Eevee for your render engine. So quickly switch on over to cycles and let's get back to this. So on the camera, let's now go and toggle the camera view, and you can now see we have the panoramic projection. But this would put us, this would create a HDRI that's off-centered from our scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the object properties, and we're just going to make sure the camera is at 0x and 0y. As this re-renders, you can now see this little, altar that we placed Cezanne on top of is now in the middle of the scene, and you can see each portion of it, and the towers are spread evenly. So this is exactly what we want. So you now are going to want to go to the output properties, and you want to change your X resolution to a multiple of 2 of your Y resolution. That is how the HDRIs are formatted for minimal distortion, as it's going to be projected into a sphere around your scene. Change the file format from JPEG to Radiance HDR, and then just render. Perfect. Now that the scene is rendered, we will save a copy, demo2.hdr. Now, this is going to be a fairly low resolution HDR image, as you will see in a second. So let's now go and apply this to our scene. We're going to toggle off the camera view. I am going to disable the temple in the viewport and the render, and we're going to go into the shader editor and in the world shader. Okay, they're perfect. So I'm going to copy the world, retitle it Demo for the HDR, and I'm just going to delete everything that is not the world output. I'm going to go and add in a background node, connect it in, and if you have Node Wrangler, you can hit Control T to automatically create the texture coordinates, mapping, and environment texture node. If you don't have Node Wrangler enabled, you can enable it underneath Edit Preferences under Add-ons. So let's go and open up the Demo 2 HDR. Let's go back into the 3D viewport, and you can now see the HDRI is rendering out in our image, and it is low resolution. But let's turn on the Cezanne head, and you'll see that it has pretty much the same type of shading as it had before. It has the white highlights from the white emissive squares and the general reddish, purplish, orange from the sky backdrop. So while this is good to get you started, I think you can see that you're probably going to want to render this in a much higher resolution. So quite often you maybe want to do 200, 300, or 400 times the resolution, just really because that's going to be what you're going to need to get a real crisp, clear background texture. But if your intent is to only use this as an HDR lighting source and not a background texture, a lower resolution image will suffice. And if you don't want this shader to be appearing in your world view in the render view, you can go into the world properties here, underneath ray visibility, deselect camera, and you will be left with just the lighting data on your little Cezanne head. And there you go. HDRIs are not inherently challenging, but like everything, your first couple are probably going to suck, but they're going to get better with practice. So keep practicing. I hope to see you for the next video. Take care.